This week on COVIDCASTJA, episode 51, we'll be discussing why social media is the new workplace. Remember when you thought influencers only appeared on TV? You know, your favorite athletes, singers, and movie stars? But now, everyone knows the digital space has changed the playing field, and influencers now come in a wide variety of people with way more to offer. Join us this Thursday, April 29th, 2021. We'll be discussing how you can become successful in the ever-growing digital space with local influencers like Cherika Reed and Rashane Campbell, also known as Rushcam. Come be a part of our live show as we talk through navigating the digital space and making it work just for you. Mark your calendars. Don't miss this one. You might be the next influencer and you don't even know it.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are at episode 51 of COVIDCASTJA. And today we're talking about social media, the new workplace. We actually did a poll. Let me go to the poll. We had a poll that we asked, is social media the new workplace? And 80% of our respondents answered yes, and 20% answered no. So tonight we are going to be talking about social media and its place as a new place of work. And we will be joined by three amazing guests: Dr. Cherika Reed, host, TV presenter, podcaster; Rashane Campbell, content creator, YouTuber, and attorney at law; and Kimberly Lulim, global category manager of Grace Foods. We are so happy to have you here. Jana, I see you. I'm excited about this episode. Are you on our mailing list? If you are not on our mailing list, please ensure that you email us sme@psoj.org. sme@psoj.org. We create memos to support our episodes, and we look forward to sharing these memos with you. You can also visit smallbusinessportal.com to ensure that you can catch up on episodes that you did not watch, because some of you are saying if we're at episode 51, it means that 50 episodes have passed. So instead of wondering what you will binge watch, we could be your new Bridgerton, COVIDCASTJA. Now, Master Farms, I'm seeing you. It is an important topic. Yolando Minot Sutherland, welcome. Good night to you. Precious Sammy, ready to be educated, and you will be educated tonight. Now, this topic of social media, you remember we started out with Facebook, and then you knew 1 and 2 people on Facebook. Then there was the Instagram, Snapchat. Now we have TikTok, we have LinkedIn, there is Twitter, so people say Twitter. And for some of us, you know, we thought social media was really a place that we fasten people business and we waste time. But now we recognize that movies are launched using social media, music is launched using social media. Most corporations use social media as a significant base for their advertising and launch of new products. And we're seeing an entire industry of influencers. And influencers are no panka people. These are well-educated business persons, and we have 2 of them on tonight that will share some of their experiences as influencers in this marketplace. Now, social media spending has increased from 13.3% of marketing budgets in February 2020 to 23.2% in June 2020. That's a 74% uplift. What has COVID done? COVID has forced many of us into this virtual space. It has forced many organizations to use this virtual space as a place to promote products. And who better to talk about your products than influencers? And even this concept of influencers, we'll be talking to the influencers about what does this concept of influencers mean. Now, the self-reported contribution of social media to overall company performance has risen sharply, up 24% since February 22. We said that the new norm is the new norm. This is going to just continue moving exponentially because our world is so much exists so much on social media. So our guests are coming from different sides of the industry. And in fact, we are starting tonight with a lady that if you don't know her, you don't know nobody. Dr. Terry Carell Reed, host, TV presenter, and podcaster. She is a connector of people and facts, having graced the stage at numerous events across the Caribbean, Europe, Asia, and the USA. Dr. Terry Carell Reed has built a brand that is synonymous with the word excellence in the world of virtual event and TV hosting, speaking, content creation, brand storytelling, and online brand strategy. Her experience has taught her to respect the process, pay attention to details, understand the needs of her clients, foster great client relationships, and to always, and I can testify, to always deliver excellence in service.
Absolutely.
Terry,
What a greeting! Good night, Rochelle. Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. Good night.
thank you so much for joining us. I see our viewers coming on. Dr. Colette Smith, I see you. She says this is our dedicated business development time. See, so our viewers are on for business development. And Terry, we have to start the conversation with you, with kind of just bringing viewers up to speed with your journey, because you are actually a trained veterinarian.
Absolutely. And it's always one of those brand building points, always one of those conversation points, because my dream was always to be a veterinarian. That was my dream from I was 4, and I made sure that I did everything that I needed to do, volunteered at JSPCA, got my scholarship, went to Cuba, stayed there for 7 years, learned everything in Spanish, came home, and then was told that, the vet board did not accredit students who studied veterinary medicine in Cuba. Ta-da! How you like them apples? And so my mom took it really hard. She broke down because I think she was truly worried about what my future, what my career was going to be, because I didn't have fallback subjects. I didn't do business or accounts. And for me, it was more of a, okay, God, I don't think you carried me this far to just drop me like a piece of breadfruit. So let me see what other opportunities are out there, even though I had absolutely no clue where those opportunities would lie.
And, it's funny the way you put it, because, we face those moments where we're like, we couldn't mean to drop me like one breadfruit. You can't carry me this far to leave me. And, many of our viewers are micro, small, and medium enterprises that have felt the vagaries of COVID, that have prepared their businesses to a particular point, and then COVID hit. And some have been able to pivot, and some persons are still just trying to get their feet settled into the next steps. So when this, we don't really accredit the Cuban veterinarians, what do you do after this?
I think what you do is you become more open. A lot of us, and I've said it on many different platforms, that, COVID-19 was horrible. It's a pandemic and people have died. But, it's not the first crisis that we experience in our lives. We experience crises from the death of loved ones to getting rejected, to can't get jobs, you're unemployed, you're laid off. We have been rejected and disappointed on so many different levels. And somehow we don't realize that we bounce back. Yeah. We don't realize that we actually pass it, that it was a storm that we got through. And so for me, that disappointment and that rejection, it stung. It felt terrible. There's an idea of uncertainty. Like, where do I go now? I am not qualified to do anything else, because we also define ourselves based on the one goal that we had in mind. But what I found is that
the doctor.
And there's this failure because you are attached to the goal that is no longer in your sight. Mm-hmm. But one thing I realized is that rejection has a way of redirecting you. Mm-hmm. Rejection on a very serious and basic level has a way of saying, I know you thought that was where you should be, but I absolutely think that you have more in you. And so for me, what started to happen when people came to me and said, we think you should try media. I was like, I don't know nothing about media. I don't know anything about media. I didn't go to Carimac only to realize that I had skills that I did not know or identify as skills that people pay for, that the world needs, and that there's a place for it. And so what I was discerning. I listened to what people suggested, and I was open to just trying, experimenting. If you fail, you'd have nothing to lose because you never was going to go there anyway. So try, fail, and if you're going to fail, fail fast.
Yes. So you get into media, and as Cerise says, so true, Terry, once we focus on what we're passionate about, the right career will find you.
Yeah, and to add to that, sometimes you don't even know what you're passionate about. Sometimes you think you know what you're passionate about, but sometimes you stumble into new areas and new spaces where you develop a passion and you realize, how come I never know this from before? But we have to allow ourselves to receive opportunities when they come.
Okay. So even when you made this transition into media, from media, you actually left media.
Well, media for me was just a hustle. You
Yeah.
know, it's just, you get a bus and you say, all right, you get a bus to try a little thing and you just go and try a little thing. But for me, it is if you get your toe through the door, no matter what it is, even if it's not the job you wanted or the career you were going for, I think you must put your 150% because there's a reason why you are in that place at that time. So what can you learn? What can you take with you? How can you grow? How can you develop? And how can you take it into the very next journey? So while media was a hustle for me, what I realized was because I did a good job, opportunities started to come to me. Can you host this event? Sure, I guess. Only to realize that opened more doors. And so again, whatever opportunity you get, you must just try to do the best that you can.
Yeah. And then after leaving media, you become now one of our premier hostesses. And I mean, when Terry is hosting an event, I recall going to an event that it was a Spanish company that was being launched. And when you got off into the Spanish,
yes,
and the people there,
yes, ma'am,
your level of preparation, you were at the top of your game. COVID hits.
Events that I was booked for from like last year, which would have been 2019, half of my calendar is already booked from January to May. I'm supposed to go to Germany, Dominican Republic, Paris for Christ's sake, Bahamas, Barbados, and I'm like, yo, my brand. It was a testament. 2020 was going to be my year of my brand really just busting out. You know what I mean? All the hard work and all of the positioning on social media, which we will talk about. What it meant is that people were paying attention and I was now booked. COVID lick, my event started to cancel because now nobody knows what's gonna happen. And I was like, all right, so what we are gonna do? All right, this not look good. But there are two lessons that I learned. Number one, and I love the biblical scripture where there was when the Pharaoh had the dream, and Joseph come and tell him, listen, there are going to be 7 years of bounty, 7 years of plentiful. When you get that plenty and when you get that harvest, store it because you will have 7 years of drought, 7 years where nothing, famine, people are going dead. So you have to prepare. And so one of the things that helped me, and I hope it will help a lot of our entrepreneurs out there, is that even when there is bounty and things are plentiful, you store because you never know when you might have to pull the lever. So even though I lost events, what happened is that I had my savings and I had my cushion, my emergency money put down, which is important. But secondly, what I learned was although the environment changed and the platforms changed, people still needed to deliver goods and services. They still needed to engage their audiences. So if you are putting in the work from years ago, steadily, consistently, with credibility, with good work ethics and good professionalism, when people start to move in uncertain times, they draw for people who they trust. Yeah. So what I realized is when everyone starts to go online, a lot of them said, Terry, we want you to deliver whatever that service is as a host. And I have not looked back since. 2020 actually ended up being my best year financially, which is mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. Because Terry Carell is a brand and a business.
She is, all the time. And everything she posts, everything she says, everything she wears, it is an intention. There's an intention, there's an emotion, there is a reason for everything that I do. And that is a huge part of personal branding, in my opinion.
Yeah. I see Marcia Farms commenting. Hi, Marcia says, store when things are plenty and bountiful, lessons of life. QB Buzz TV says, I lost my job. Thank God I learned pretty early to save 6 months worth of pay. Daniela says, Terry puts her entire being into hosting every single event. Reese says, everyone knew from high school that you were going to be a big deal. Just in case you never know, everybody else did know. But Terry, how you have actually presented Terry Correll, it's clear that Terry is a business and she is a brand.
Correct.
And what you do is intentional.
Correct.
So the business would have been focused on hosting live events. Correct. You pivoted into online, but you pivoted to, you were able to do that better because you had already positioned and established a brand. Absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit that establishing the brand, and while you're doing it too, because you know in the back of people's head they're like, but online business, online really no real, online real. I want to just
real. It's very real, Rush. And the thing is that I think that's why a lot of people are playing catch up, or why a lot of people had to play catch up, because a lot of the times we are reactive, and we are reactive as a people, as a country, as a region. We react when our back is against the wall. We don't believe in being proactive, looking ahead, trying to establish things from now, so that if things kind of get a little bit weary down the road, we're able to adjust our sails because we're reacting on the fly. And so for me, what it was is, a lot of us want there to be a whole heap of likes and a whole heap of followers and a whole heap of popularity and a whole heap of buzz. And sometimes all it is a steadiness. It is doing the job that you say you do, being who you are, not lying to the people, being authentic, knowing how to self-edit, not faking it till you make it, and being on a level that when people see you, they trust you. So that no matter what is changing around you, people always look to you as a point of reference. They look to you as an authority. You don't look like a hurry come up trying to do something overnight, but that you have put in the work, and now you have proven yourself over and over again. And this is just another space that you're going to dominate in.
Yeah, and you know, Terry, because just what you went through, you pretty much went through brand tenets, that whether it is your personal brand or your business brand, it's the tenets that you apply to a brand.
Absolutely.
So when you are posting, you talked about in being intentional. For our business people that are watching, can you kind of outline what is the process? Because, you know, even a lot of business people have moved their advertising online and are still unsure of the platforms and if there's a method behind it. Can you share some of your tips?
There is a method. I think one of the biggest, there are a couple of mistakes that people tend to do. And that is one, they tend to follow trends. So because everybody on TikTok, you think, okay, I'm going to put my brand on TikTok. Or because Facebook happening or your friends are into Facebook, you say, all right, I'm going to shoot some messages over by Facebook. A lot of persons are trying to throw this big net or trying to catch this new trend without understanding data, understanding metrics, understanding their audience, being granular. Not just I want to talk to all the women in Jamaica. No, I want to talk to women in Jamaica between 35 and 40, in particular, who want to publish their book, publish their first book. How granular are we getting? Are we taking the time to understand the different platforms and how audiences behave on these platforms? When you look at one person can behave very differently across 5 platforms. And you wonder, this can't be the same person. And so I think brands need to step back and truly understand who they're speaking to so that they're not wasting money. So back to your question about my intention. My intention is I am in control of my brand. It is my responsibility to communicate very clearly and very effectively who I am, what I do, what are my values, who do I serve. Welcome. A lot of people take it for granted that we are psychics and we know what you do and who you serve. And so what needs to happen is on every profile you have, even if it is one, when people get on that profile, in 5 seconds, in 10 seconds, when they see that profile pic, when they read your bio, when they look at your photos and your videos and your captions, it's everything adding up. Who you say you are and what you do and how you want people to perceive you, are those all harmonizing? Or you're saying something, doing something else, posting something that don't align with what you do, and you're talking to a completely different audience, but you expect to get results? Madness.
Yes.
You have to be intentional about what you want your audience to feel, what you want them to walk away thinking, what is the call to action. Without being salesy, they must walk away saying, I got her, I like her, I will do business with her, I will partner with her, I want to know her deeper. You're missing opportunities when you're not acting with intention on your pages.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because I we have to get into the LinkedIn because it's a page that we, as business people, sometimes we don't really mess around with much. And I know you love LinkedIn. Now, as when small businesses, so for instance, and we're doing a series on cultural and the creative industry. So I am a fashion designer,
Yes.
and I have a brand page for my fashion design. I was very interested in how you put that. People will have different personalities on different pages. One of the things with your brand is that wherever you pick up Terry, it's the same Terry. And she will give jokes when it's necessary. She'll have serious conversation, but you're never wondering which Terry is present. Now, when you have a small business and do you have a different small business, your business personality different from your own personality? So you may be selling, tell me.
Right. No, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that your personal brand differs from your professional brand. We have alter egos. We know that Beyonce, for example, is Sasha Fierce, and we kind of understand the alter ego when it comes to certain industries. It's almost expected. But I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that we somehow feel, okay, I'm going to be this business person, professional, ethical, conscientious, mindful, inclusive. This is the brand I'm going to push for because this is the brand that is going to do well. A good brand profile is good business. But then we've realized that people actually want to do business with people who they like. People want to partner and collaborate and support and put money in your pockets because they want to know who's behind the brand. They've got smart persons and your audience. They're very, very savvy. So then we go searching because we want to know who are these people behind this amazing brand that has diversity and all of these good things and fantastic culture, only to realize that the owner or the board members or the CEO or whoever is using slurs or is a ableist or is, using offensive language. Then you kind of go, whoa, this person and this brand, they're not harmonizing. Also, this is a fake. And that is where the issue is. What I believe is in the power of self-editing. So across all my platforms, you will get a very good idea of Terry Carell, her personality, what she does, what my interests are. Instagram is more personal. That's my platform, my playground. I am more, I'm funny. I use a lot of colloquial expressions. On LinkedIn, I have to position very differently. That's a captive audience, very professional, very global. I have to ensure that whatever I say, they actually understand and that I'm not misunderstood in that space. Does that mean I'm changing myself authentically? No. It means recognizing the room that you've stepped into, recognizing the people who are there, and adjusting based on who is in that room. And that is what I have done.
Okay. And I see Marcia says alignment of brand messages for consistency and to build trust. Terry dropping pearls of wisdom, Terry. Alicia, thanks for this question. Alicia says, how do you get to understand your audience when you're just starting out and therefore you only have a few followers? Not enough to get any statistics as yet. Great question, Alicia.
Great question.
I don't have an expert on. Send questions.
And it's funny you said that, you said send your questions. So a big issue when especially small businesses go in is that they go, nobody knows me. I don't have enough resources. I'm this one person. I only have 2 people and I only have 2 followers. Just kind of remember that quality is better than quantity. I will take 20 great community members who will support me, follow me, recommend me, refer me to 2 million lurkers who will never convert in the space. So for me, we're not looking at the vanity metrics, but going back to her question is ask. We go into the space thinking that we know it all. We go into the space with our own preconceived notion of what kind of content we're going to create. And if we build this, create the content, the people are just going to come. No. The best type of entrepreneur is an entrepreneur who actively listens and asks questions. Hey guys, I'm new to this. You know, this is what my specialty is. This is how I want to serve. What are the things that really disturb you? What bothers you? What you tend to realize is that when you actively ask questions, you do polls, you leave a space that means that there is dialogue. Your community actually starts to feed you with information. They start to give you business ideas that you never even think about. There's some who will give you graphic suggestions. They will tell you, hey, we think you should partner with that person over there. But if you're going in thinking that you know it all and that you're just going to do it all with you and your ego, then you really are not creating a space for your audience to actually give you feedback. And even criticism is valuable feedback. If someone says you're not posting enough, don't take it personally. They're saying, we like your content. We need to see you more. Everything that you do is feedback, but you have to ask questions. Don't be afraid to look stupid. Don't be afraid to look like you don't know what you do. People will value you for valuing their opinion and their feedback.
Yeah. And Terry, when you establish yourself, and you spoke about, let's not just look at the number of followers. You actually are looking at the engagement. Now, in your field, you are in now an online business.
Mm-hmm.
How do you choose who to partner with? I mean, when COVID hit and you're not sure where the revenue coming in from, do you just say, anybody will ask me to do anything?
No.
Open a box, flowers, spray on perfume.
Not happening. I think it's my humble background. I never come from no rich privileged home, so I know I learned how to do without. I learned from my grandmother very early that your good name and your reputation and your integrity are the most priceless things you can hold on to, and that one moment of a bad partnership, a bad collaboration, a bad decision can ruin all the work that you really put into your good reputation. And so even going through Cuba and then coming out and being unemployed and not having any jobs, still holding it and saying, yo, I don't have no money right now, but I'm still not willing to partner and do things that I know will just not align with my values and my principles.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to understand what my value is, and I have to understand what my brand is. And some people have a very hard time telling people no. Some people want to people please and be everything to everyone. I guarantee you, if you try to be everything to everyone, you will dilute your brand, confuse everybody, and no one will know where you stand.
Yes.
The people who really want to invest with you will be like, no, but you're a flake. You're a flip-flopper. Today you're speaking about being a vegan, but tomorrow you're yamming pork. How does that work? So
you saw me eat a piece of pork today, Because you just step on my toe.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. But for me, it is, I have my pillars, and I think small business brands and personal brands, they need to realize that they are big brands. They're big like Microsoft. You're big like Apple. Listen, you're big like Coca. You're big like everybody. But you have to treat your brand as such. And just as how those brands have guidelines, and they know exactly what to do, how to message, the colors, where you put them logo, where they put, and what pillars are a part of their brand, we have to do that for ourselves. So I have my own brand guidelines. I have my own pillars because I take my brand seriously. So if a brand comes to me and I've assessed that this is not family friendly, it's not corporate friendly, this is not the audience that I serve, I don't have a problem saying thank you for the kind consideration, but I don't think I am the right brand fit for you. However, I think this brand is more in keeping with your target audience, your vibe. I have done that many, many times, and I've never lived to regret it. Keep your standards. Keep your standards.
And you know what I do like is that, again, these are nuggets of wisdom. These are tips that you use whether you are the brand, you are the product, or you are marketing a product that you've created.
Correct. And you should be like this on and offline, because that's another thing. Some people feel like you can, posture a particular way online because that looks good. But just understand that when it comes to personal branding, it is all the cues that you're leaving, the nonverbal, the verbal, the interactions online and offline, and what people see and what people hear about you, how you have left them feeling. All of them are the sum of what people believe your personal brand to be. So be careful just how you are offline. It should translate online, and how you are online should translate offline.
Yes. So Terry, this concept of the influencer, I would like your views on the influencer.
You see me cross my eyes. I wrote a blog about this on my website, terrycarrell.com, and it's to date, it's still the most read article I've ever written. Okay, so I think that there's an absolute place for influencers and influencer marketing in the world if it is done properly. Influencers are not frivolous. They have spent a lot of time and energy and effort, and sometimes their own money, building trust and credibility and integrity within their community, to the point that they can influence this community, whether the community is as small as 12 or as large as 12 million. And so when brands want to now tap into that brand equity, they should pay for that. They should put as much energy and effort into influencers as individual brands as they would for the full page ads in the newspapers, or the 30-second ads and the hour and the 1 minute ads on TV. They believe those are tangible, so they will put down budgets for that. But when it comes to influencers or persons, they want to give you a trinket or a token with the hopes of tapping into your community. And for me, I think that the respect has to go both ways. I think corporate needs to understand what influencers and what they do. And I think influencers also need to ensure that they don't water down their brand by aligning with brands that help to benefit their brand and their community. It has to align.
It has to align. Terry, we're going to need to post in the comments where persons can find that particular blog. Where do people find that blog? Because I think they need to read it.
It's on terrycarrell.com. I think I'm going to try to find that link and actually drop it in the chat. But what I do is I explain, what influencers need to do in order to be respected. And I think influencers on a whole need to understand that they need to treat it as a business. The more people enter the space, use the term influencer, and accept every and anything, it waters down the entire industry. And so what I do is I tell corporate Jamaica what they need to get right, and I tell influencers what they need to get right as well.
Can you give us a touch of that? Because I'm actually seeing a good question here from Rajesh. Can you just give us a little touch of some of what you have put in? Somebody post it there for you, Terry.
well, damn. Well, okay. Well, look at that. No, well, I think influencers need to again always know who they are. As much as you have built influence with your community will start to look at you side eye, and they will start to judge you if they think that you are just selling your soul out and selling your community out. Your community really enjoys when you back them, you protect them, and you don't give any brand any access just so. They feel as if you really care about who they are and that you're not going to sell them on something that you yourself would not use. And I think influencers need to stand by that. And on the corporate side, a lot of our corporate entities, marketing managers, brand managers, even agencies also go based on vanity metrics and popularity. But if there is a client that you have that has a specific niche, it is best for you to get with a micro influencer that has the kind of audience that will convert automatically for that client, not necessarily the person who is just popular, but may not have the right audience. So I think that even corporate need to start asking persons who they want to do business with, What are your stats? What's your engagement? You know, men to women, your cities. What countries are you showing up with? Show me the data. We still go a lot on guts, and we need to use the data to make informed decisions.
Wow, Terry. I see Rajesh says, is it too late to build my brand online and become an influencer? Is the market saturated?
Rajesh, let me tell you something. It is never too late to do anything. The question I have for you though is your objective to be an influencer? Like, my objective is not to be an influencer. I never went out to be an influencer. In fact, I don't even consider myself an influencer. I consider myself, and the name I give myself is a community builder. I believe in servant leadership. I serve my community in a way, and when you serve people with value, exceptionally well, consistently, the influence comes automatically. So the question you ask yourself is, do you just want to be an influencer, or do you want to serve a community in such a way that it naturally lends itself to you being influential? And that, of course, will bring the opportunities. The market is never saturated, but my darling, it is wise for you to know what market are you entering? Why are you entering that market? What is driving that decision? What action do you want to bring about? What change do you want to bring about? How do you want to impact your community's lives? When you start to answer those questions, it starts to open up where you realize, this is my sweet spot. This is who I want to serve. And this is where my influence will come if I serve the people properly.
Wow, Terry. That, my dear, was where you say the mic has dropped. Drop Ed. Terry, wow. You know,
I hope it helped. It's a lot. It's a big topic.
Yes, and you know, it just reminds us, because even as we were planning this topic, that we may have to do a part 2 of it, because there is just so much to discuss. Thank you very much for the work you've already done, the insight that you have provided, and how you have businessized this online world, because sometimes we are not seeing the business of the business. You've been able to link your individual brand with corporate brands, with small business brands. And I know that our audience, I see the comments are blowing up. And Derisha says, my daughter dreams about being an influencer and she wants her main audience to be children so she can lead and help them be better. But is she too young? Let me tell you, you need to be following Terry. Terry, where can people find you? Because can you answer that question quickly?
Sure, no problem. The market is never saturated. Going back to that question, there are over 7 billion people, and there's no one who looks like you, acts like you, has been through the same thing, has the same knowledge or the experience or the exposure, and will approach the same job just like you. The market is never saturated. You just have to figure out how to differentiate. Don't worry about the competition. Focus on your differentiation. Number 2, you are never too young. There are youngsters, babies even, who are making billions of dollars by reviewing toys or being fashionistas or eating food and reviewing restaurants. What we need to understand is that how we used to approach business, where we had to go through a tenure and you have to go internship, and then you have an entry level, and then you have to work your way up in order to become a CEO, in order to make money. Them days are done. Those things happen. But what I am saying is, with intention, if your daughter wants to be an influencer, the first thing she starts doing is posting what she wants to do. What's the change? What's the message? They will come. But she now has to make sure she positions herself that when the opportunities and the people and the business comes, you have given much thought to what you're going to align with and how you're going to roll it out. Not too young. Greta Thunberg is not too young to lead the climate change revolution.
Oh, thank you. I see Minna Israel says, dearest Terry, heartiest congrats. Awesome sharing of gems. Watching you from there has made me truly proud. Soho says, have always respected Terry's professionalism, great role model. And please, I beg you know that don't keep this information that Terry has shared tonight to yourself. Please be calling somebody, sharing this link. The rebroadcast of this episode will also be on our YouTube page, Facebook page, and smallbusinessportal.com. We cannot thank Terry Carell enough.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for having me, PSOJ. I really appreciate it. And all the best to the small business owners. I know it's hard, but just keep going. Just keep going.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you very
Take care,
much.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Wow, tonight is hot, people. I hear, I seen it that we need a part 2. Right now, we are going to be joined by a gentleman, Rushcam Campbell. He's a content creator, a YouTuber, and is a practiced attorney at law who graduated from the University of the West Indies and the Norman Manley Law School at the top of his class. He was drawn towards a more creative calling, which was not new territory, having previously run a lifestyle blog while studying. Stepping out on faith, he began a full-time journey as a YouTuber and a content creator, garnering almost 75, more than that now, subscribers to the YouTube channel, about 100 now.
Almost,
yeah. Rushcam educates and entertains, packing up his audience with gems, nuggets of advice, and laughter. Captivated by his island man aesthetic and candid advice and unique personality, his fan base has grown and continues to grow at a rapid rate. Rushcam.
Rochelle.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I know a lot of our viewers are, you heard Terry?
Yes.
And I'm looking forward to your version of things.
Yes.
Yes. No, we have to start with the obvious. After your parents pay for you, we go to the Norman Manley Law School and you graduate with enough prize at the top of your class. How does one make the conversion of career, that grand pivot into content creator and YouTuber and blogger and social media personality extraordinaire? Tell us about that, please.
All right. So, Rochelle, when I was in school, in high school, I was always the PRO. I was in 6 clubs, and every club I was in, I was the public relations officer. I used to dance. I used to do everything creative. And then I got to 6th form, and we hit a crossroads. What do you do next? Remember, you're either going to be a lawyer, a doctor, maybe an accountant, maybe an engineer, maybe. But it's one of the 4. So I was like, okay, well, I don't like sciences. I'm not really sure about the accounts. I love to talk. I like to read. So if you love to talk and you like to read, what do you do? Law. Exactly. And I had a conversation with my mom, and she was just like, you know, Rush, marketing comes naturally to you. So do something that you can hold on to for the rest of your life. So I decided to do law. Last minute. If school opened September, I decided in August. But the grades were satisfactory, and so I got in. And I did well. So the question is like, okay, Rush, so you decided to do this thing, you did well. What's the issue? What is the real issue? But after working in corporate and in commercial law for about 9 months, like that's a baby. Yeah, about 9 months, I was just like, you know, I felt a calling on my spirit. I felt like I wasn't being filled, I wasn't being fulfilled. You know, usually in the office, and you look through the window and you just say, boy, my personality just in the ground, like all the things creative that I wanted to do, I wasn't able to do them.
Yeah.
And we know that they say that law is like a jealous mistress. No. She's the mistress, the baby, the house, the land, the car. She's everything.
Yeah.
And so I knew that to pursue a life that would fulfill me creatively, I would have to step away from that. I prayed about it. I got several. I asked God for one sign, Him give me one. I asked for next one. I get on it. I asked again, and I just decided, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't say I was going to be an influencer, nothing like that. I just wanted to pursue creativity in an authentic and true way for myself.
And, you know, as people are watching, because, you know, when we go to school and, you know, and we say we want to pursue our creativity and authenticity, I know some people are watching and they say pursue creativity and authenticity, you need to get paid on the 25th of the month. So when you step out in faith in this online, virtual, social media space, you had a business plan for it?
The business plan, and I'm going to be completely honest, the business plan was vibes and creativity, because I knew, and I'm going to be very honest, Rochelle, I knew that I was always committed to excellence. I saw it in school. I saw it with the things that I did in clubs. I saw it every step of my life, from I was born up until that spot at 20, 23 or so, 24, probably 25. I just knew it that I was always going to do well. So I was like, okay, maybe I don't know exactly how it will work right now, but I know that I'll figure it out. Plus, let me add this proviso. I did have at least 4 or 5 months of savings to be able to live, to figure it out. So it wasn't like, so there wasn't a business plan, but there was a plan. I'm not gonna sit down and dead and hungry and suffer, and I look through the window and say, Lord have mercy, white squall, I can't eat. But I knew that at least for 3 months or 3 to 5 months, I could float.
Okay.
Yes, but no business plan. But I would definitely recommend for anybody who is watching or anybody who has ever heard my story, as many details as possible that you can put into your idea of what you want to do, how you want your brand to look, do it, because it will definitely save you some time.
Okay. Yeah. So even on that point, based on what your experience having stepped out in faith and learning as you go along, for those persons who are interested in venturing in this online space, what are some of the tips that you would give them?
Okay, the first thing that I'd say is figure out what your brand pillars are. Who do you want to be? What do you want to show up as? Even if you're being creative, if you're opening a business, whatever it is, as long as you're going to do something that is digital, online, people must know what it is about. So what is it about? What are the different things that you want to touch? Is it that you're going to be educating people? Is it that you want to offer a service? Is it that you are the service? Is it that you're going to be selling bag juice online and it's going to have a special flavor? What's unique about it? So that's the first thing I said. I think I'd want to recommend, because I really didn't know who I wanted to be and why I wanted to be it. The next thing is, who are you serving? I know that Terry mentioned it, but you see, the idea of knowing who your audience is, Rochelle, it will save you a lot of time. If your audience is 18 to 25, female who lives in the Caribbean, you can't be selling baseball cap, my boss. Nobody not. 18-year-old girls do not wear baseball caps, right? If your audience is over 30, you cannot be mentioning, oh, let's do some TikToks. Who over 30 is doing TikToks Doja Cat style? You have to know who your audience is. And the other thing I would say is, and this is a little controversial, don't quit your job if you don't have to. A lot of people glamorize and sort of put on a pedestal the hustle and the entrepreneurship, but your creativity does not have to be the way that you make 100% of your funds. You can use a 9-to-5 or a job or something like that to fuel your creativity, and that gives you the ability to create freely. It gives you the ability to create without any boundaries. It gives you the ability to not have to worry every single day. Lord have mercy. Suppose them not watch the video, Rochelle. Suppose them not watch the video. What may I go do? Lord have mercy, may I go dead, may I go hungry? No. So if you do not have to quit your job, don't feel like I'm not an authentic creative if I don't go out there and hustle. You can be an employee, as Daniela White is saying, and an entrepreneur. Yeah,
Yes.
and it's actually, especially as an influencer, it gives you the freedom to not have to do everything that comes by because you have a bill to pay on the 25th.
Yeah.
So if you know that you are not tied or anchored down to your creativity or to your influencing and to your platform and all of that. If Rochelle come and Rochelle want to sell straw hat and you don't want to sell straw hat, you can just simply say no because it is not all of your bread and all of your butter.
Yeah. So when you are at a position now where you have several thousand followers and subscribers, at what stage are you able, as an influencer, as a social media personality, how do you make revenue? Or you make a bottom line?
There's several ways, and so I'll definitely speak on the way I do it. First of all, YouTube is one of my main sources. I make money through two things on YouTube: ad revenue. So when the videos show, guys, and you see the ad that comes up from one of our sponsors, NCB, with the beautiful Terry Carroll talking about the mortgage. Yes, when you skip that ad, we don't get paid. So Google will pay a YouTuber or an influencer per ad. They'll get a portion of the funds through the ads, right? So that is one thing. Now, let us say that Rochelle Cameron has beautiful hats again that she would love me to sell online. She can sponsor a video. And so I would have made money on that video before the video is even posted. So I would not have to worry per se about ad revenue and so on. But those are two ways that you can make money. Let me just put it out there. The big YouTubers who make the big money, they do not depend on ad revenue because of how fickle it is. Yeah? Because you don't know who go watch a video. Sometimes the people just not in the mood, Rochelle. Them don't want to hear me talk. So it's good where you can get that money through sponsorship and so on. So those are two things. Then now you have Instagram posts, you have Instagram stories, Twitter, all of that is influencing 101. Here's a shirt, buy this shirt. Here's that, buy this, that. And you could also be a brand ambassador for brands and so on. Now, one thing that we don't talk about in Jamaica is digital products. I have the expertise and I decide to sell a course, or I decide to do a webinar, or I decide to do speaking engagements and things like that. That is another way in which you can make money. So the money is working for you while you're sleeping. You understand? So you have your digital products, you have how to get 25K followers in 10 days, for example. It's there, $100. People buy it while you're sleeping, they're reading it, and you're making some money. You have merch. There are just so many different things.
Wow. And you know the whole point about the digital products, the webinars, because you know, as even some of our persons are watching and they're saying, okay, but I can't post YouTube videos like Rushcam. But the space is bigger than just even the YouTube videos. It is the webinars, those tips, those short video tips that people are watching and that they will pay you for.
Yes. And then, Rochelle, there's another thing that a lot of people don't talk about. And I encourage a lot of creatives to do this, especially with the parallelogram that we're in, the pandemic, the Pangea bread, the Panda Express, whatever you want to call it. We are able to work across borders, right? Your skill set is valuable. I did not go to school to do marketing and social media, but I've learned the industry for several years. So what do? I offer my services to an agency in Miami because they want the insights for locals and Jamaicans and all of that. What can you do? How can you be a contractor for agencies? Can you offer your insights for small businesses, for example? You understand the social media scape. Could you be a social media consultant for small businesses? Yeah, you give them probably like a toolkit, how to develop their brand, all of that online. All of those things can be made tangible. So yeah.
Wow. I'm seeing two questions. Alicia and Justine, I'm getting to your questions. But let me get to Justine's question because Shanique said, excellent question. If you're rebranding and reinventing yourself, but your new brand and direction doesn't match your old audience, how do you then introduce yourself?
You introduce yourself and let them go. And let those who need to come. Okay. If you have 100 subscribers on YouTube and you got up one day and you said, you know what, I'm not going to review toys anymore. Right now, I want to review houses. You think that if I came here to watch you review toys, that I'm going to watch you forever? No, you don't need to make a grand announcement. The sifting will happen. People will change their minds and decide to jump off. And as people are jumping off, others are jumping on because you are changing. And there might be people who are just there for you, It don't matter what you're doing, you're reinventing. There are people who are there just for you. So I don't think we need to necessarily overthink it, but you have to just change and let them go and let them come. No, that don't mean you must be changing every week. Please. You cannot change every week. This week I want to do hair. Next week I want to do lashes. Next week I want to do nails. Next week I want to be a motivational speaker. No. Then the people are going to say you're a flip-flop and you're a slippers. No. If you're changing, change. Let them see the change and let them go with you. It happened to me. I'm going to be very open right now. I realized that when I started YouTube, Rochelle, a lot of people were there for one thing in particular. I kind of changed and my overall mindset and everything changed. And my content started to look a little different, sound a little different. My audience was changing. How did I know my audience was changing? I looked at the comments. People in the comments were no longer saying, Lord of Jesus, what he said. No, it was more like paragraphs of things. And I was like, okay, they're changing. The people who wanted to see what I was no longer doing, they slowly left. Them said, boy, Rush Cam, now have the buzz again, my love. And they left. And that was perfectly fine. Right? But I allowed them to go because I knew the direction I was going in. I never said, Lord, them leaving. Let me change back. No, just let them go. Frozen.
Alicia says, any tips for time management when you have a job and then starting your creative business on the side? She said, we feel tired all the time.
Yes, you're gonna be tired all the time. Take your vitamins and sea moss gel. It's great. But I was reading in a book the other day, and the writer Elizabeth Gilbert, she said that you should think of your creative pursuits. By the way, I always tell my mother, stop calling it a side hustle. It is not your side hustle. It is another stream of income. Stop calling it side hustle. Because if you call it side hustle, you're going to treat it like the side. It's not a side hustle. It's just another stream of income that you do after 5 o'clock, right? So change your outlook towards it. That's the first thing. The other thing is, based on what I saw in the book, and I agree with it 100%, start treating your creativity like an affair. So when people in affairs, they're hot and bothered, even if they don't have any time, they make the time. And even if it's 15 minutes, they're so, woo, Lordy, I just can't wait to see her. I can't wait to see him and all of that. Think of your creativity as a affair, like a nice, steamy affair, somebody that you're in love with, but you just have to thief a little time to see them and whatever. Why did I say that? I said that because when you do that, you no longer think of it as an old tired obligation that you just have to do and it's holding you down and it's enka or whatever. No, you think of it as something that you're looking forward to, something that is sexy, something that is hot, that gets you all excited. I have done that several times, several years, and it has definitely helped for me. The other thing with time management is every day, Rochelle, you will not be able to give 100% to everything.
Yes.
Your priorities will change. Like if I have a project, I'm working on a project right now. If the launch of the project is tomorrow, I cannot expect that tonight when I'm working on the project, I'm gonna beat up myself and say, but I'm not doing well on YouTube. Whatever. No. Your priority right now, Rush, is the project that you have to launch tomorrow. Your priorities will change, and that is okay. Give things what they are due when they are due, but it's okay. You don't have to have it at 100 every time. It's
Yes.
okay.
Yes. I see you better preach. Rajesh says, Rajesh, thank you for this. Rajesh also mentioned examples of digital products Jamaicans can benefit from: custom software, graphics, video templates, games, ebooks. Yes, Shireen says, great tips, very relatable. So you know what is coming out of this is the traditional concept that we had of the influencer just creating YouTube videos. It's much bigger than the YouTube video, and your brand has extended much larger. You're working on other projects now.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. To launch. The Samantha says, I'm a stay-at-home mom. What do I do to make an income? I joined the program late and it's quite interesting. Well, Samantha, let me tell you, you have to make sure that you go onto our YouTube page and smallbusinessportal.com, because you will hear from both Terry Carell,
Yes.
and from Rush Cam.
Yes.
And they have in fact provided a whole list of various areas online that you are able to provide services. Rush, you want to just give 2 little pointers to Samantha?
Samantha, the first thing I'd say is, what do you like to do? And when we ask you what you like to do, we really mean, what do you like to do even on a bad day? You know, because we like to do a lot of things. You like to draw, you like to do puzzle, you like to dance, you like to sing. But even on a bad day, can you think of something that you would enjoy doing, that you're good at, that could really bring you joy? No, people have said, no, why are you going with the joy thing first? Because sometimes you get demotivated and you need something that you like and love and enjoy. The other thing is, can that fulfill a need? Like, people have needs out there. So for example, when I think about my audience, I know my audience. They're people, young professionals, university students, and young professionals who are looking to navigate this world, adulting, life, everything. We're just trying to navigate. I am filling them with something. What need can you fill? It don't have to be a literal product, you know, it don't have to be a product. It don't have to be a bottle of water or whatever. It could be digital. It could be that you're teaching somebody how to do something. What can you do? Can you sew? Suppose you keep sewing classes online. So can you bake? Suppose you know want to bake. All right, you say, all right, you know what? I don't really have the money for buy the flour, the butter, the sugar, the lard, whatever. Can I teach baking classes? What is it that you're good at, and what need can you fulfill? There's always an answer. There's always an answer. Promise.
And you know, Drini says, Rochelle, you still have to have a marketable skill or product, which is exactly what you were just talking about, Rush.
Yeah.
And Rush, that it is so important that you ask yourself the question, who are you seeking
Who am I seeking to serve?
What need are you filling? Yes. Now, I see Marlene says, Lord, me say the comment them. Colleen Edwards, hi Colleen. Thank you for your honesty and priceless tips. Marlene loves the concept of falling in love with your business. Samantha D says you could vlog and document your mom life, provide mom hacks, etc. to start. There's so much in this space. And one of the things, Rush, that you mentioned earlier is to actually take a look at what is happening in the space. So understanding this broader space. So some of the times you think you have to come up with everything you say you yourself, but you actually need to be navigating the space.
Yep. And when we say navigate in the space, you see that word called research. You see that word called research. A lot of my millennial friends do not like to research. We like to just show up and say, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do. Research. There's always an answer online. Literally, you can type in an idea of what you think you're kind of sort of thinking of, and you can still find something. For example, you can type in mom, stay at home, business idea, not sure. The possibilities are endless. So, and what I always say to people who ask me about advice, especially when it comes to YouTube and it comes to social media, is do your research. I can't stress it enough. And when I said do your research, I don't mean look up something for 2 minutes, Rochelle. I don't mean like talk to somebody in the area for 2 minutes. I mean, you must know back end, front end, side end. And I heard an interview one time, and one of Beyonce's backup singers said Beyonce knows everything about her production. Beyonce knows the name of the lights, she knows the dances, she knows the stage, she knows. If you are going to do this thing and do it well, you need to understand the space. Invest in yourself. Sorry, one more thing, Rochelle. Invest in yourself. If you only have $50, I promise you, take the $50 instead of take the $50 and buy a phone. May I tell you what you do? Take the $50 and do a course online about YouTube. I promise that could give you so much more than you take the phone. Because when you have the phone, now you're looking at the phone and I use this. No clue. Read.
Wow. And you know, Rushcam, just for our audience members, we actually have a memo on social media and the different types of social media pages. It's available on smallbusinessportal.com. Please ensure you check it out. And we also did extensive research on some YouTube pages that you're able to get some education from. Please go to smallbusinessportal.com. I'm going to wrap up with this point from Shanique. Now, Shanique says, with social media, I was wondering when somebody was going to ask this, being a new workplace, how does one keep their mental health in check with this workplace? Social media comments can be very discouraging, even when one is doing the most positive thing. How do you keep your mental health in check? Because not every comment nice, Rushcam.
You see how I'm anxious, all I sweat through my anxious. Yeah. Let me tell you something. I never turn up. I see a press the AC, you know. I'm going to remote. I say, what remote? Okay. I'm going to be very honest. Sometimes, and I tweeted this, sometimes you feel like a big garbage bin. And you don't feel like a big garbage bin because of what people are saying. And it's so funny. You don't feel bad because of what people are saying, but you feel drained. You're drained because you are constantly and consistently, I would like to hope, presenting yourself, your authentic self, on a platform. It takes a heavy toll on several people, several of us. It drives us through the wall. Sometimes you don't really want to do it. But what I have, and I'm choosing my words very carefully, what I have decided to do is change my attitude to rest. So I now look at rest as something that I deserve and not something that I have to earn. So I do not need to show up. If I can rest after I do 5 videos, I can rest after I do 3 videos, I can rest after I do, no. If I feel like I need to rest, I need to rest because I deserve it, not because I'm going to earn it. Now, as it pertains to the issue of people's comments and so on, I do not see negative comments because I I'm so busy answering the positive ones. If you think about it, you have 99 positive comments and you have 1 negative comment. You wicked to yourself if you are going to sit down there, oh my Lord, whatever. No, spend your time filling your cup with the people who want to see you do well. There are people out there who are rooting for you. There are people who tweet me every day, Rush Cam, big up yourself. Yeah, man, fill my cup and make me fill your cup. Nobody spend no time. Look for everybody I pass who I say, Lord, I'm come back again with that same black and white shirt. Then no. Spend the time engaging with those who want to see you do well.
Yes. Oh, and it's a nice black and white shirt. Lord, you drop the gems for me tonight. You know, say you leave me in my head with the flip flop. You don't want to be a slippers.
You don't want to be a slippers.
To be a slippers. And Terry-Ann says, maybe because most persons do not know the benefits. This is of research, because I think you really touch a button when you remind us about that. Research has shown that persons like to buy, but they don't like to be sold to. Educate them on the product or service and then leave them to make informed decisions. Tashara says, excellent point. 2 excellent presenters tonight. And we have more. Rushcam, thank you very much. Thank you for evolving this online social media business and bringing the professionalism to it and helping tonight to educate our MSMEs with some tips, some gems that they can use to just improve their online presence and improve their businesses. We cannot thank you enough.
I'm going to go and turn on my AC right now.
So peace out. Thank you, Rushcam. No, wow. So we've heard from Terry, we have heard from Rashane, and it's very important too that we have the discussion about the business side. How does corporate see this online social media space? And we are joined by the inimitable Kimberly Lou Lim, Global Category Manager of Grace Food. She has over 10 years of experience in international brand marketing, advertising, and product management. Kimberly leads the development of global campaigns, drives product innovation projects, and executes results-oriented programs to extract brand growth. She also manages the relationships with brand ambassadors for the company and specializes in social media influencer engagement for her portfolios. Kimberly, how you do? You're on mute, Kimberly.
How are you, Rochelle? I am good. How are you?
I am good. What great conversation. I mean,
listen, I was just back there nodding and endorsing and saying, yeah, man, you know, just nodding along to everything they were saying. Some definite gems that we saw there, both Terry and Rush.
Yes. So when you are listening and you are responsible for social media influencer engagement, before we even get to what that is all about, we really need to get into what is that all about, because 5 years ago that's not something that we would even think about. But
no.
It's very real for you now as a global category manager when you're looking at your brand.
Totally, it totally is. And as you said, years ago, you know, online, you know, was more of a part of or a smaller part of your overall brand plan. So, you know, you're talking about doing things in the trade, which is in the supermarket, let's say for Grace, or if it is in the retail space, that portion of it was a much bigger portion. And then what you did online was there to just accentuate what you did. No, I think where we are is that we have entire business plans, entire digital marketing strategies that are developed specifically to focus on what are we doing on digital media, what are we doing on the social media space, how are we extracting value, and how are we growing our brands through that space. So it has totally changed.
Yeah, and this whole concept of digital media is not just a kind of philosophical kind of, you know, state of being. It's very real to how you grow your brand.
Absolutely, because that is where your audience is. So, you know, obviously, well, with the pandemic, it's even catapulted, right? But I mean, our objective is really to capture the eyes of our consumers, our target audience. And so if our audience is online, then we obviously have to consider how it is that we become part of that conversation. And so digital media is super important for that.
So, one of the things that I know our audience is wondering about, we would have had the times where until we have athletes as brand ambassadors, we have artists as brand ambassadors. Now, when you are you are promoting a particular product and have this additional space of considering influencer as a part of your brand ambassador portfolio, what is the process like in determining who best to approach to be positioned as a brand ambassador for your company?
Well, it is a very thorough process. A lot of people would think that it's just something you just pick who is popular. As Terry was saying, that's not exactly how you do it. I mean, if your goals, so first of all, you need to set what your objectives are, set your goals. So we have a strategy for the year. This is something as brand marketers we are planning a year in advance. But obviously, when the year comes along, you're looking at revisiting your plans and trying to understand what are the avenues that I will take in order to achieve my goal. So the first thing is setting that goal. Is it awareness that I want to create for my brand? Is it that I want to, so for instance, if I'm launching a new product, it might just be that I want somebody to know that I have this product around, right? And so that is a different probably avenue you might take, or you might look at certain influencers for that, because reach, so that influencers reach. So that's when the followers know, someone having a lot of followers may be important there, because somebody making one post and having 2 million followers, 2 million people possibly would not have known that there is a product that you've created that don't. But if it's not just about awareness, so for instance, we're a brand, there are a lot of people that know about Grace, especially in Jamaica, right? So further than that, if there's some kind of relationship or perception you're trying to change, then you have to start to look at which of these influencers credibly allow you to create that perception. And so you also want to establish who is your audience, who is it that you're trying to speak to? And then once I know who my audience is, right, and this is important, then I start to look at the influencer pool to try and understand which influencers match my target audience. In other words, looking at their audiences and trying to understand the quality of their audience. So for instance, there are some influencers, and I know, connotations around influencers, as Terry said, she prefers to be called a community builder, right? But really and truly, influencers can have a lot of following but don't have engagement, meaning that they have 1 million people on their page, but when they make a post, 2 people comment. That's not necessarily ideal for us as a brand if we want to show reactions to whatever it is, the content that we're creating. Right. So it is important also when you're looking at their audience, is their audience an engaged audience? And that is part of their plan to. So you heard Terry talking about knowing themselves, right? Knowing who they really are. That's so important, because your audience will engage more when they really are truly believing in who you are. And so we look at that as well. We look at the quality of the audience. Terry mentioned a word called that. It's basically that you just have an audience that you've created maybe because you sold it. There are actually programs where people can buy followers, right? And so you can actually go online and just post around, just basically paying people to come onto your page. So if I know that is the kind of following you have, that's not necessarily the quality I would want to get into, right? So knowing that audience that they have, and if it matches yours, then that is also that intersection of your audience is important. So therefore, if this person is a foodie and I'm a food brand, right, it almost makes sense that I would want to target someone like that, because people that are following them would be very, very interested in if I'm creating content that includes food. So that's a simple one. And then the person, I think another big one is really that brand fit. So let's say a great audience, but and it probably aligns with your target. But for instance, that audience is not. I am about. So I have a category. It's called jerk seasoning, etc. That audience really is about not flavorful stuff. They're more into that sort of bland food, more about quick and easy, convenient, but not necessarily bold flavors. That's something that I would also look into as well. So what is the fit of the audience that's there, but also what is the fit of the influencer that we have, right? And what do they stand for? So for instance, I partnered with Camila McDonald in the past on a series called Reggae Recipes. Reason being, so that Reggae Recipes feature jerk seasoning, using that with vegetables, right? Because was to share with people that you don't just have to use jerk with chicken and meat and etc. You can actually try jerk with things that are vegetables, basically food. And so if that was my goal, and Camila is known for her jerk, her vegetarian lifestyle, then it totally fits the brand. So brand is important for this influencer, as well as just understanding the scope of the relationship that you're going to have with them, right? So you're matching. Listen, I have a budget of $2, right? And I don't really plan to do something year long with this person. So I might not necessarily approach the biggest influencer that there is that has 10 million viewers if I know that I'm not going to necessarily extract that value out of that person when I engage them. Because let's say based on my budget, based on what it is that we're planning to do around the brand, the longevity of that activation is not even going to allow me to really capture ROI out of that activity. So those are the kind of things. It's really looking at what is it I'm trying to do, who is my target audience, does it match with this influencer, and then based on what I want or need to happen, what is the scope of the activity and how we can work together to make it happen.
Okay. And it's very interesting that you mentioned too that based sometimes on budget and just how long an activation is going to work, you may not need somebody with 10 million followers. You may need a more micro influencer for that particular. But you are also looking not just how many followers and how many likes, but also very importantly, what is that engagement, the commentary on the page. And from a corporate perspective, because I know it's not the easiest thing always managing brand ambassadors, the right data, those contractual relationships. How do you manage to ensure that the influencers that you utilize, their services, are still in keeping with your brand ethos?
Very good question. So initially, I'd say what Rushcam said earlier, which is research, right? And so lots of the work is ahead, not afterwards. So in other words, you try to really understand what this person stands for. You obviously study the tone of their posts. You study the activity that they do and the things that they tend to endorse or not endorse. Those things pretty much you look and you make that an assessment. And then obviously when you engage this influencer as well, you'll clearly set out the scope and the rules of that engagement as well. So the clear communication is very, very key for this to be a success. So it is a partnership, and your target influencer also will understand that there are objectives that need to be met for the brand, etc. And it's not as rigorous as it sounds. As I said, if you do enough research, it's about really just gaining that honest relationship with the influencer. And I think once you have that good rapport, they'll understand the tone of the brand. And we actually do share some of that kind of information with the influencer themselves, so they know.
Okay. I see a question. Lysandra says, really interesting to hear from the corporate perspective. And she's just asking, do you ever use micro influencers with smaller followings? And that question, how do you decide that somebody is an influencer?
It is really anyone who has that ability to, we want to use the word influence, but anyone who has the ability to change attitudes or to make a group of people do something based on their actions, right? And so the size, as Lisanne is saying, there are micro and macro influencers. Sometimes it's actually better to reach out to micro influencers because a lot of them, especially if you understand their following, the smaller the following, the more they are able to interact with them. They probably respond to them more quickly, and so they're actually possibly more engaged.
And
if they have this curated audience that they have, and I know that that audience is really spot on with what I need to do, then it might actually be better to go to several micro-influencers or even just one that fits with what we want to do versus speaking to a macro-influencer, which is a larger one with a larger audience. They may have a lot of following, but they may not necessarily do as much to promote the brand or to necessarily to let's say kindle that relationship with the brand. And so for us, I think sometimes we start out maybe looking at just kickstarting a relationship with an influencer, but it is kind of like a chemistry sort of situation as well, because you get along well, for instance, even with a ding dong. We started with just some initial interactions with him. He might have performed at an event that we would have had, and his passion for the brand came through. He actually started to do things, post our products without even asking. So when you see an engaged influencer from that end, someone who actually is truly, invested in the brand, then it makes this relationship much easier, and really and truly it comes from both micro and macro influencers.
Wow. I see Justine says, I love how this entire session emphasizes the importance of the 5 W's and your H in a nutshell. Wow. Who, what, why, when, where, and how. And if you know your why you're doing what you're doing, purpose, and your who you are, and who is your audience, and the how, execution will come together. And you also
Exactly.
because even from the corporate perspective, as a sponsor, and as somebody with products and services that you are engaging a wide audience, you still have to ask yourself, who is my audience for this particular product, and who best do I partner with? And I love how you say it's a partnership.
It's a partnership.
A partnership.
Yes, certainly. I think that's the misperception on both sides. So each the influencer might come in just thinking, what do I need to get out of this? And brands often come in just thinking about what they need to get from this. But I think if there's this mutual understanding about what each wants out of this, and if there is a match, then it's much better once you move forward with that kind of relationship. So I think the research, we do a lot of data analytics. And so getting into the situation, we already know what it is that they stand for somewhat, and then it kind of works from there.
Okay. And I like that you talk the data analytics, because what data do you gather to and analyze to determine things like this particular partnership has been successful? What are you looking at?
Well, as I said, I think it depends on your objective, right? So everything starts with setting that goal. So if my goal is awareness, then I would be looking at the reach of the particular post that this person may have made. So you'd look at how many people actually viewed whatever the content piece was. You'll also look at that engagement rate, which is also whether it is likes, shares, comments, the level of engagement that post created versus, let's say, potentially what the size of their followers is. So looking at that engagement rate is also another key metric for us. So with higher engagement, that means people are connected with the message that we are trying to send. And that's important for the brand, because of course, brands are really just looking to make connections with consumers, to share whatever our message is, and for them to receive it and accept it. And so that the demonstration of that is through their interactions on the page, their comments, their likes, etc. And looking also, as I think Rush mentioned it earlier, so for certain types of products, for instance, if you are not a corporate brand, but you are a small business and you have an ebook, you can, posting that, let's say, for instance, you have an ebook, it's on Amazon. When you post a link for that, so you create this big set, we're in this webinar, you have a link right now, you post it and you say, guys, look out for my ebook, and you put that link in the comments right now. All the people that click the link and go to Amazon, you're able to track that. So you can look at the success of this particular engagement by seeing how many people click, what the click-through rate of those of that link, and you can directly tie your activity. You can directly figure out what your ROI is. I invested this much in this activity, and then I got this many purchases of my ebook. For corporate brands, it's a little bit, well, it depends on the industry you're in. So for instance, we, especially in Jamaica, e-commerce is just growing right now, right? So a majority of our customers are really the supermarkets, the wholesales, etc. So when someone talks about the Grace brand initially, right now online, it's not necessarily going to tie into someone clicking and buying the product online. They may end up considering it or being aware of it, and later on the conversion, which is going into the store one day and picking up the product. That is what your probably end goal is. So measuring ROI for certain kinds of brands that are not necessarily selling a tangible product online is sometimes hard, but there are other metrics that are easy to look at. As I said, if you look at the reach, the impressions of that post and the engagement, and obviously we do a little bit of social listening, which is really thinking about or tracking how many people are talking about your brand or that activity, following that activity. When you look at all of those metrics together, you kind of can see the success of that activity. And there are obviously a ton more metrics that we can look at, but those are some.
No, so Kimberly, you have really made it clear that we're going to have to do a part 2 of this particular episode, because when you talk about some schooling here, this is schooling. Thank you so much. What would you like to leave our audience with? I mean, we got a belly full, and I know people are going to have to be sharing this episode and also rewatching. But from where you sit as a corporate manager that's managing the relationship with influencers, with your business, what would you want to leave our audience with?
All right, well, knowing the audience, some of us in the audience are actually wanting to be influencers, and some are actually, brands, or corporate entities, etc. So I would say from the business perspective, if you are looking to reach influencers or select influencers, I think the number one thing is really that research that we spoke about, which is just really tracking them, understanding who their audience is, trying to get a sense of whether they align with what your objectives are and what your brand is, so that, to see if there is an alignment and a fit that is easily recognizable. Because nowadays, I think authenticity is 10 times more, valued, because there's a lot of, I'd say, fakeness online. A lot of things are just considered so fake. This generation values authenticity. So when they see interactions that don't seem authentic, they automatically don't respond well. And so you need to establish, authentic relationships with these partners, so that it is not, you're not wasting your investment, let's say, necessarily. And I think it's all about that. And there's just a chemistry that you can then generally see when you have those relationships. And then on the other side of it, which is someone who is looking to be targeted as an influencer, I would say that consistency that both of our guests spoke about, you have to have a very credible brand image, your brand, knowing your personal brand and knowing what it is that you stand for, because it's not even the corporate brands that will necessarily do. The audience will do that test for you. And so we are listening, we are watching, and we're seeing what's happening there. And so the audience will actually authenticate what it is that you're doing. So if you stay true to what it is that your core values are, who you think you are, I think that is important for being successful there, because both the sponsor, the endorser, as well as your audience are looking for those things.
Wow, Kimberly, preach it. Thank you so much. I just saw Dr. Smith say, another great episode with valuable gems. # Grace is synonymous with excellence. Thank you, Kimberly.
Wow, thank you. And I'm happy to be here. Lots of gems shared by Terry and Rush as well.
Thank you so much. So we were just joined by Kimberly Lulim, Global Category Manager of Grace Foods. This episode, though, honestly, if you If you are just joining us, you know you have to watch the episode from the beginning. If you watch the episode, I know you still have to watch it from beginning again to make sure you're noting all of these points. If you were sitting alone and watching and you didn't tell somebody about it, you need to ensure that you are sharing this episode. We are at episode 51, which means there are 50 more episodes. They're all available on smallbusinessportal.com. Please visit our Facebook page, visit our YouTube page, catch up. This is your business program. We are here to serve our micro, small, and medium enterprises through the vagaries of COVID, pivoting, making the adjustments, learning more about our business. This series is the cultural and creative series. Last week, we talked about reopening the event sector, that industry. Very, very interesting episode. You've got to catch it. Today, we talked about social media being the new workplace. You've got to know who your audience is. Yes. Very importantly, you have to do your research. What need are you trying to fulfill as an influencer? The corporate sponsors are in the space. They're utilizing from micro to macro influencers. This social media place is not a playground. It's a real business. It is the new workplace. How are you tapping in with your business? And tonight we had Dr. Terry Carell-Reed, host, TV presenter, and podcaster. We had Rashane Campbell, content creator, YouTuber, and attorney at law, and Kimberly Lulim, global category manager, Grace Foods. We were sponsored tonight by our sponsors, NCB Group, the JMMB Group, and COVIDCast is brought to you every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. by the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica. Please join us again next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about things like IP rights. As we are in this creative space, are we ensuring that we are protecting what we are creating so that we can monetize what we are creating? So see you next week. Walk good, sanitize. Please stay safe. COVID is so real. You have a great idea to start a business, but you don't know where to start. We completely understand. You have a lot of questions and almost no answers. Smallbusinessportal.com is here to help. At smallbusinessportal.com, you gain access to information on loans, grants, and investment opportunities from verified financial institutions. Guess what you also get? Useful business tips, access to training. All these services combine to make your business idea into a reality. Start your journey today at smallbusinessportal.com.